Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Seriously Creative. So today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to do shakers. So a shaker is one of these. So pretty much any kind of design that has this little cavity in the middle where you can add beads and glitter and things like that is called a shaker. So most of the inspiration that I've gotten for shakers has been off Instagram. I don't really see anyone on YouTube doing videos on how to do shakers, so I thought I would do one to help you guys out. But if you have any questions, feel free to message me below and I'll try my best to answer them for you. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope this video is helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching. So first thing I'm going to do is mix my 2-part epoxy resin together. And for the Game Boy, I'm just going to do a clear layer for my first layer. And for the space helmet, I'm going to add a little bit of mica powder, which is like a shimmery pigment kind of powder, to give it like a nice metallic effect. And I also add a little bit of black glitter as well. So that's going to be my first layer of resin, and this is all real personal choice. It just depends what kind of effect that you want to have with your shaker. So with this one, I want the front of it to look nice and shiny, and then I'm going to do a different colour behind it. And then I just use a toothpick to make sure I get any air bubbles out of that first layer. So after I've let it dry for maybe half an hour, just so it's a little bit tacky, I'm going to go ahead and add the iridescent flakes to the back of the Game Boy clear layer. And this is the stage where you can pretty much add anything you want. You can add glitter, you can add pearls, pretty much anything. It's really up to you how you want to decorate it. But I just like to add some iridescent flakes. So after I've let it dry for a couple of hours, it doesn't have to be completely dry, just enough so that the two layers aren't going to run together. It's time to do my second layer. So for the space helmet, I wanted the kind of galaxy effect behind the helmet. So I've got black and a few different shades of purple and a blue. So hopefully it has like a nice galaxy kind of look. And for the Game Boy, I'm just doing some pastel colours, so pink, purple and blue. So once you've done the second layer of resin on your shaker, you've just got to let it dry overnight, and then you're ready to take them out of the moulds. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is just take my little hand drill, which I think I got it from AliExpress, and just drill a little hole in the side. So for this one I actually decided to drill it on the side because the top part where I usually put the bail to hide the hole is quite thick, so I can't actually drill through that bit, so I've just drilled through a little bit on the side where you can't really see the hole anyway, so it doesn't matter. So what I'm doing here is using UV resin to colour in the buttons on the Game Boy. You can use acrylic paint as well if you like, but I just prefer the look of UV resin, and I find it a little bit easier to get into the cavities as well. Or I've also seen people fill these little cavities with glitter or beads, so it's really up to you what you want to do. And next I'm going to add my parts into the cavity that I want to add. So I've got a little paddle pop and some glitter, some hearts, a tiny little block of chocolate and some pearls. So you can be as creative as you like, you can add whatever you want pretty much. As long as they aren't too big and they can fit into the cavity and still move around when you've got the oil inside. So next I'm going to put the transparency paper on top to make like a window protection. So you can just cut the shape to fit the cavity. If you were going to have beads in the little buttons as well, you'd have to cut the sheet to fit over the entire piece instead of just the window, if that kind of makes sense what I'm trying to say. But because I've only got beads and things in the top window, I just make the transparency paper to fit over the top of that. And then you can just use super glue or UV resin to seal around the whole outside. So I tend to just use super glue, but it really doesn't matter if you use super glue or UV resin. And use a toothpick to put it all around the outside and make sure it sticks on properly. And I'm just repeating the process for the other shaker as well. So then what I'm going to do is dome the top of the piece with clear resin. So mix 2 parts clear epoxy resin again and wait until it's a little bit thick so that when you do the doming it doesn't spill over the edges as easily. And this pretty much just seals in the transparency paper, make sure there's no leaks. So once that top layer doming has cured overnight, I'm just going to fill up my shakers with some baby oil. You can buy specific shaker oil. I'm pretty sure the only difference is shaker oil doesn't have a fragrance, baby oil does have a fragrance, so they're both just mineral oils. Or you can use some water as well, or you can just leave it dry. But the oil tends to have a thicker consistency than water, and it means that the little pieces inside kind of flow around a little bit slower, whereas the water, they kind of just move around a little bit quickly. But you can experiment and see which one you like. I like to use oil. So I'm just using a really fine needle here. You can actually get blunt needles, which is probably a lot safer, but this is all I have. And then I didn't actually record this part, but you've got to use a little piece of UV resin to seal up the hole that you've drilled. So make sure you just clean the area with the alcohol wipe or just a piece of tissue, and you just put a blob of UV resin and then just cure it, and that's going to seal up the hole. The next step is to sand the back of the shakers. So this is just to get any excess resin overspill off and just make it nice and smooth so that you can dome the back and put a bail on to make it into a key ring. And I just use some super glue to glue on the bail. The next thing I'm going to do is dome the back. So I add a little bit of pearlescent mica powder to the resin just to make it look a bit pretty, and I wait a little bit until the resin's a bit tacky just so it doesn't drip over the edges, so same thing as the front. And yeah, just dome the back and make sure that the bale's sealed in so it's nice and secure. And that's it, you can add your keychains to your pieces and then you've got some cool resin shakers. So this process usually takes a couple of days just because there's so many layers to make sure that are cured properly. So there's about 4 or 5 different layers of resin that you've got to consider curing in between, and it has to be fully cured before you do the next step. But I hope this video was helpful to you, and like I said at the start, if you have any other questions, just comment below or you can hop onto Instagram and send me a message. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.